During the 1930s, due to rising political and military tensions, there was a possibility of a new war breaking out in Europe. As a result, smaller nations such as the Kingdom of Yugoslavia began rearming and investing in military modernization, including the acquisition of new weapons, vehicles, and aircraft. The Yugoslavian Air Force in particular was mainly equipped with obsolete biplane fighters, while at that time, the concept of low-wing fighters was gaining popularity due to its advantages over the older design. Although the development of a domestically produced low-wing fighter was desirable, it faced resistance from conservative military officials and pilots who firmly believed in the biplane's superiority. To reach a compromise, the Yugoslav government initiated the development of a high-wing fighter designated IK-2. This design sought to blend modern performance with a structure more familiar to proponents of traditional biplane designs. While a small production run was initiated, it quickly became apparent that the low-wing fighter was a better solution, leading to resources being redirected towards its development. Not wanting to disregard the small production series of IK-2, they were put into service. As rearmament swept across Europe, purchasing modern aircraft from abroad became increasingly difficult. Aircraft-producing nations prioritized their own air forces, leaving potential buyers like Yugoslavia with limited options. This made domestic production an attractive alternative, and Yugoslavia, fortunate to have a burgeoning aviation industry, capitalized on this option. In the early 1930s, two aviation engineers, Ljubomir Ilić and Kosta Sivcev, recognized a lucrative business opportunity to develop a new fighter aircraft for the Yugoslav Air Force. As part of the Yugoslavian Ikarus aircraft manufacturer, these two set out on a private venture to design a modern domestic fighter to replace the aging biplanes in service. Established in October 1923, Ikarus was among Yugoslavia's first aircraft manufacturers. The company enjoyed significant success during the 1920s, receiving orders primarily for training aircraft. By 1927, bolstered by increasing revenues, Ikarus expanded its operations by opening a new production plant in Zemun, near the capital city of Belgrade. This modern facility provided Ilić and Sivcev with the resources necessary for their ambitious project. Initially, the engineers envisioned a low-wing fighter with retractable landing gear, reflecting contemporary aviation trends. However, this concept met resistance from traditionalist Air Force officers and pilots who favored the proven biplane configuration. Faced with this opposition, Ilić and Sivcev revised their plans, opting for a high-wing fighter powered by a robust engine. By 1933, the engineers had completed a wooden mock-up of their new design, which underwent wind tunnel testing in Paris. The data from this test, combined with finalized design drawings, were presented to Yugoslav Air Force officials in September 1933. After a detailed review, the project received approval, and the Ikarus aircraft manufacturer was tasked with constructing the first prototype. The new fighter was designated IK-L1. Following Yugoslavian naming conventions, the initial I and K honored the designers Ilić and Kocha, a nickname for Kosta Sivcev, while the L stood for Lovac, the Yugoslav word for fighter. The numeral 1 signified it as the first prototype. By September 1934, the first fully functional prototype of the IK-L1 was completed. While the IK-L1 prototype was originally planned to be completed and flight tested in September 1934, multiple delays postponed its debut until April 1935. Unfortunately, the prototype's operational life was cut short. The maiden flight occurred on April 22, 1935, at an airfield near Belgrade. The test pilot was Captain Leonid Bajdak, a senior officer leading a faction of pilots opposed to the new fighter. Despite Ikarus's objections to his involvement, they lacked the authority to challenge the decision. The first test flights showed promise. On its maiden flight, the aircraft demonstrated generally good performance. The following day's tests yielded similar results. Although the fabric skin on part of the wing was observed to have loosened slightly upon landing, Despite this minor issue, it was decided that testing would proceed. On April 24th, during a routine flight, Captain Bajdak performed a series of unapproved aerobatic maneuvers. While flying at an altitude of 1 kilometer, he executed a sharp dive followed by an abrupt climb, subjecting the aircraft to extreme stress. This maneuver caused a catastrophic failure of the wing structure, leading to its partial detachment. Bajdak was forced to bail out of the aircraft. He escaped unharmed, but the prototype crashed and was completely destroyed. Despite his reservations about the high-wing design, Captain Bajdak's report on the IK-1 was surprisingly fair. He praised the aircraft's responsive controls and overall pleasant handling, but criticized its limited visibility due to the high-wing design. After analyzing the wreckage of the IK-1 prototype, it became clear that the accident resulted primarily from substandard construction quality. While Captain Bajdak's report provided valuable insights, it lacked sufficient evidence for a definitive conclusion on the new aircraft. Consequently, Ikarus officials decided to construct a second prototype with stricter adherence to quality standards. This new aircraft, designated the IK-2, featured predominantly metal construction, with only the aft fuselage and tail sections retaining non-metallic materials. Construction took approximately 10 months, and the IK-2 was completed in June 1936. Flight Lieutenant Janko Dobnikar was chosen as a test pilot for the new prototype, with flight evaluations conducted at the Zemun Airfield's newly established test center. Early testing yielded excellent results, with the IK-2 achieving a top speed of 435 km per hour. This performance marked a significant improvement over earlier designs and solidified the aircraft's potential. In 1937, the IK-2 prototype was put through rigorous trials, including a mock dogfight against the Hawker Fury, the Yugoslav Air Force's primary biplane fighter. Over the course of 16 exercises, the IK-2 consistently outperformed the Fury in speed, climb rate, turning ability, and overall flight performance. This success frustrated Captain Bajdak, whose skepticism about the new fighter had been well known. His growing animosity toward Lieutenant Dobnikar eventually led to a heated rivalry. To settle their differences, Bajdak challenged Dobnikar to a contest. The terms were simple. Both pilots would climb to an altitude of 4 kilometers over Zemun, race 140 km from Belgrade to Novi Sad and back, and engage in a mock dogfight. The IK-2 decisively won the climb and the race, demonstrating its superior speed and performance. The mock dogfight was fierce, but the Dobnikar's IK-2 consistently outmaneuvered Bajdak's Fury, forcing him to concede and finally admit defeat. Despite its success, the IK-2 prototype met a tragic end when it was struck by lightning during a flight. The aircraft caught fire and the pilot was forced to bail out. Although he survived, the IK-2 crashed and was completely destroyed. Despite the loss of both prototypes in separate accidents, the performance of the IK-2 fighter was deemed satisfactory, prompting a limited production order. In November 1937, Ikarus was tasked with manufacturing 12 aircraft. The first 6 were delivered by December 1938, with the remaining 6 completed by February 1939. The IK-2 was a high-wing, single-engine fighter featuring a mixed construction design. Its fuselage utilized a chrome molybdenum steel tube frame covered with duralumin skin, except for the rear fuselage near the tail unit, which was fabric covered. The semi-cantilever wings followed a similar construction, transitioning from fabric skin on the prototypes to duralumin skin on production models. Each wing was supported by 2 prominent struts beneath the aircraft. The tail unit featured a standard configuration with 1 horizontal stabilizer and 2 vertical stabilizers. The fixed landing gear consisted of 2 main wheels and a smaller tail wheel, with pneumatic shock absorbers on the front landing gear to assist with landing. The tail wheel was steerable, further improving ground handling. The cockpit was fully enclosed with a sliding canopy that retracted into the fuselage sides. However, the high-wing design limited pilots' visibility, especially during landing. To slightly mitigate this, small glass windows were added to the sides of the cockpit fuselage for better ground visibility. Both prototypes of the aircraft were initially powered by an 860 horsepower Hispano-Suiza engine with an adjustable pitch 3-blade propeller. During production, this was replaced by an 860 horsepower Avia HS engine to simplify maintenance. This change had minimal impact on the aircraft's overall performance. The armament of the IK-2 consisted of two 7.7mm Darne 1930 machine guns and one 20mm Hispano cannon. The machine guns, mounted on either side of the front fuselage, were supplied with 250 rounds each. The cannon, positioned to fire through the center of the propeller shaft, was supplied with 60 rounds. Some IK-2 variants replaced the cannon with a 7.92mm Browning machine gun. After a period of adjustment and training, the IK-2 fighters were initially stationed with the 6th Fighter Regiment in Zemun. By October 1939, they were reassigned to the 4th Fighter Regiment, which was based in Zagreb. As tensions in Europe escalated, the 4th Regiment relocated to Bosanski Aleksandrovac near Banja Luka, where it became part of the 107th Squadron, tasked with defending the 8th Bomber Regiment. At the onset of the war on April 6, 1941, the 4th Fighter Regiment had only 8 fully operational IK-2s, with 4 additional aircraft undergoing repairs. Alongside the IK-2s, the regiment also operated between 18 to 20 Hawker Hurricanes. At the beginning of the conflict, the IK-2 was primarily employed for reconnaissance missions. On April 7th, 2 IK-2s attempted to intercept a German reconnaissance aircraft but were unsuccessful. The IK-2's first significant combat engagement occurred on April 9th during a reconnaissance mission. A single IK-2 encountered a formation of 23 enemy fighters and engaged them to delay their advance, allowing the 4th Fighter Regiment to scramble additional aircraft. Around 5 or 6 IK-2s and 8 Hurricanes eventually joined the fight. The German fighters operated in well-coordinated groups, while the Yugoslav fighters were less organized. After a fierce 10-minute skirmish, the Germans disengaged and retreated back to their base in Austria, having lost 2 aircraft, while the Yugoslavs lost 3, 1 IK-2 and 2 Hurricanes. In the following days, engagements were less frequent, but the IK-2 managed to shoot down 3 enemy aircraft. The 4th Fighter Regiment's efforts were ultimately in vain as the war progressed. On April 14th, facing inevitable defeat, the regiment's pilots made the difficult decision to destroy their remaining aircraft to prevent them from falling into German hands. Despite these efforts, the Germans captured 1 intact IK-2 from the 4th Fighter Regiment and seized 4 more from Yugoslav repair workshops. In total, it is believed that at least 5 IK-2s were captured by the Germans. Following the defeat of Yugoslavia, the independent state of Croatia received a small number of ex-Yugoslavian aircraft from Germany, including several IK-2s. These aircraft were incorporated into the Croatian Air Force and saw limited combat action. However, their operational use was constrained by a shortage of spare parts and maintenance issues. Despite these limitations, the IK-2s remained in service for several years, with the last recorded instance of an IK-2 being operational in Croatian inventory occurring in 1944. After this point, the fate of the remaining IK-2 is unknown, and none are known to have survived the war. This concludes our look at the Yugoslavian high-wing fighter. What do you think of this last known fighter? Would you attempt to outfly a Hawker Fury with it? Let us know in the comments below. If you like what we do and want to see more, remember to subscribe so you don't miss a single video. Also, don't forget to take a look at our ever-growing collection of articles on our website plane-encyclopedia.com. Thank you and see you next time.